This is the color. This is the color of confession. If darkness was a color, would it be white or would it be black? Certainly black in your thoughts. And you cannot hide it. Your thoughts, your behavior, your aura. Communicate and speak louder. Your actions. There's a darkness in your brain, and a memory tags to another, even darker. And in the end, you see little light, not even a glimpse. You don't even know if you want to see the glimpse of light. Secretly. Secretly, you want to see the light, yet you fear that your inability in the moment conveys a gloom that forever will be like this. That forever you will not see the light. That forever you will not have the energy. And that only adds to the list of failures. Failures catalogued and labeled by others. Failures catalogued and labeled by you. We grow into a world where our needs are just a simple request, and then not necessarily understood or met by others. Not necessarily because they want worse for you, but because they have their own suffering. Then as you grow, you fall into patterns, and you grow in a society where if you fall within a certain pattern, you succeed. And if you deviate from that pattern, you failed. You fail on your appearance if you do not look a certain way or attract a certain way. Often it's your own labels, or perhaps you attract those that have different values and interests from yours. And perhaps when you seek understanding and love and compassion, others simply wish to have a different interest. And when you discover that they were not the same, you don't feel validated, you don't feel loved, you don't feel worth. And then you continue your journey through life, and more patterns and more patterns. You observe those go on in a certain way and have certain skills, and you do not have those. So you either believe in yourself because someone believes in you, because you have a trait that you find it with ease, yet you focus on those traits and activities that you're not good at. So you put yourself further down. What's the purpose of this exercise? No, it's not to get attention. No, it's not to have compassion. It's not to feel miserable and pity and feel like a victim, but simply a confession. A confession that often we fall in patterns and we believe to be victims, and we believe to be unfortunate, and we believe that we don't have our own worth, and we believe that our own worth is in the eyes of others and the applause of others, on the marks, on being picked up when you are growing up by the gorgeous boy or girl, on the having the marks and passing at school, on achieving your accomplishments at school, on getting the job, on having friends and home. What about if you don't meet any of those criteria? What about if you don't succeed at school? Does that make you a failure? What about if I don't have a caring, loving home? Does that make you a failure? What about if you don't have the materials and the comfort? Does that make you a failure? What about if you have a job and no one sees you for your value, and they have different interests, and they want you to go at the pace that you cannot offer, sustain, and be valued? Does that make you a failure? In their eyes, it's a failure. But do you see yourself as a failure? We want to believe that we don't. And you either rise up and you fight with all your might, and you fight to prove them that they are wrong and you're right, and to fight that you have your worth. But how long can you keep that fight going? How many hours of suffering and misery and negativity and anxiety and sadness and crying? How many times, to what extent do you get what you're fighting for? What do you compromise? Your health, perhaps? Your relationships? In order to achieve something, you lose something greater. Just because you want to prove them wrong, just because you want to prove your worth, because you want to prove that you're valued, that you're worth something. Just do me a favor. When will you give that up? Doesn't mean giving up on yourself, doesn't mean giving up on life, doesn't mean giving up on you. There must be a better solution. Since when does it feel better to put someone else's down? Perhaps in a moment of feeling that you want a revenge because you feel powerless and you want to feel empowered, that moment of wanting to put someone else's down and wishing them badly might make you feel a little bit more powerful. But is that the solution? If you have a conscience, you will feel guilty. And if truly that was the answer, you would not have anxiety. You would not wake up in the middle of the night without sleeping. You would be at peace. So truly, that cannot be the answer. And if you think about it, why should some people be superior to others? Just because they have a certain trait that they can use with simplicity? But do you know how many hours they've worked on it? Do you know their history? Yes, some skills come to us with more ease. However, we all have something special. We are all worth. If this universe gave us life, it's because there is something on us that is worth. Even if that worth does not equate to being picked by the gorgeous boys and girls, even if that does not equate to having the best marks or passing or having the physical attributes that the world wants us to have, even if we don't portray, even if our body is not perfect, even if our communication skills are not perfect, even if our brains are not working the way we wish to, even if we are failing to be the person we want to do and be every day, does it mean that you're not worth it? There is so much that we need to learn. There's so much that we constantly learn from the moment you are born and in my life experience that will continue to the moment I'm dying, to the moment I die. And I believe that probably that applies to every one of us. We learn to let go, we learn to welcome others, we learn to move from the fight, flight, freeze response to be more assertive, to be more loving, to be more compassionate, to be more forgiving. To realize that our needs matter and we speak for ourselves when we stand up, but we do it in a kind, assertive, compassionate manner. But you also have others in our regard. The same way that we have a right to live and have the right to have our needs met, others also have their right. Both have our rights to be heard, to be understood, to be supported, to be loved. And just because someone else can run faster does not mean that someone else that runs slower is weaker and is not worth living. We are all unique. We all have our strength and weakness, and that's what makes us humans. That's the definition of a human. We are not robots that are programmed, and even robots are not perfect. If you take the dexterity of a human being, it's far superior than that of a robot. Yet we consider our robots perfect when we program them to behave in a certain way, and they do fail us. We have habits and behaviors that do not serve us. We've learned them from observing others, but let's not blame them. They did their best. They did the best with the way they were growing up, from what they observed, the knowledge and access they had, and also how they were treated. If you don't have a role model, you cannot learn. You can be inspired by others, but if you don't have no one to be inspired by, then you just struggle through. But let's not blame them. Let's not put them at fault. Even though we might have observed certain behaviors and now we carry them through, we are responsible for the behaviors that we maintain. And even though they might be ingrained in our body, even though they might be ingrained in our brain, there's still a possibility of change. Every time our heart beats, there's a possibility of change. And others say, you failed, you passed, just because you fit a certain criteria. Does that make you feel more valuable and less valuable? Yes, you might be more skilled, perhaps typing faster than the computer. Then yes, let's celebrate that skill. Let's perhaps learn with your habits and values and your way of working towards that, to excelling at that. But then certainly that person that can excel at that is not perfect at everything. But if we recognize we all have strength and we can learn from each other and we can support each other, but we also have weakness. And just because you're not good in a certain setting does not mean that you don't have a value and a worth on a different setting altogether. We live in a world of comparison. Who can run faster? Who can speak better? Who can look the best? And then when we feel threatened, when our life feels threatened, either consciously or unconsciously, we put others and we regard others with disdain. We feel that they infringe our rights, our needs, and they disrespect us. How can you demand that I respect you when you don't respect me? Yet respect is knowing when to set up our boundaries, when to say, I'd like to be treated with respect, I'd like to be spoken with respect. I have more power than I think I have. And when we can speak to me in a calm, polite, respectful manner, we maintain this conversation. And I will hear you fully. So easy to talk, but so difficult to maintain. Because our brains can easily go into a fight, freeze, flight, fight, freeze, fight, freeze, flight, freeze, fight, freeze, fight, freeze, fight, freeze. Fight, freeze, Fight. Freeze. Fight. Flight mode. Yes, I want you to be heard, but I also want to be heard. I want you to support you, but I also want to be supported. Why do we live in a pattern and in a society where there is higher hierarchy and lower hierarchy? Parents, kids, where they seem to be the ones that have the knowledge, they are the wiser, and whatever they say should be heard and followed. When you're a parent, you accept that, but when you're a kid, you don't see it like that. You also have needs and wants and desires. And who should have their needs and wants and desires met? Who should reign? Society dictates that it's parents, and when you're a parent, you also want that to be that. Yet, if you are in the inferior position and your needs are not being met, it doesn't feel fair, it doesn't feel right. May we find the knowledge, the understanding, the compassion to see each other, to see beyond our pains, to encompass the needs of ours and others, so that we can come up with a better solution. A solution that supports me, supports you, supports us. And if you are going through school, and perhaps there are certain criteria in order to pass, and if you are doing your best and our best is not good enough, perhaps we need extra support. Perhaps we have to learn a different way. Perhaps we need to manage and learn how to deal with our emotions. Perhaps beyond that problem, there's another problem. And perhaps there is more than one solution. Just because society dictates that you should study in a certain way, doesn't mean that's the right way. Yes, it might be your easy way of comparing who can have better and higher grades, but doesn't mean that person is better than anybody else. Let's value achievement. Let's value differences, and let's recognize that we all have different paces. We all have different values, and we are all good at different things. Some things come to us easier than others, and that's okay. That should be okay. If we don't embrace this diversity of paces and abilities, then we destroy ourselves and we destroy others. We destroy ourselves because whenever we are missing and failing to achieve that standard, we feel that we failed. We feel that we are not capable. It might give us a drive to fight, but when you're fighting above someone else's, that's not a win-win. That's adversarial. That's not a win-win. That's not the win that I want to be in. I want to be in the win where I'm recognized that I have some value, and so do you, and my value complements yours. And if you move on to a world of cooperation, employee, employee, again, whatever the employee says, you have to follow. What about if you can't follow? It's very challenging to recognize that sometimes the best thing is to just go separate ways. Recognize your values. Sometimes you have a greater need and you feel that you have to put up with certain ways to the detriment of your own health, to the detriment of your own self-esteem. And until you burn and crash, you will not recognize that. Fairly and surely there are ways and many things that we can change and make it more accepting by letting go of our thoughts and perhaps coming on board and seeing it in a different way. Surely there are things we can do to improve ourselves and our skills. But yet, what is standing up costing you? Is it costing your relationship? Is it costing your energy? Is it costing your life, your health? Is it costing the quality of the relationship with your partner, with your kids? Is it all worth it? Is that the sweet victory that you want to? That victory that you said, I've achieved, but I destroyed everything and everyone, including myself. It doesn't feel right to me. It doesn't feel right to me. If it's not healthy, if it's not balanced, it doesn't feel right to me. And there's a distinction between being in the comfort zone and destroying your zone and that of others. May you find that balance. May you recognize that what you're gaining is not worth. May you recognize that sometimes you can let go and sometimes it's not worth the battle. What about your relationships and the quality of your relationships? Why is it that whenever we feel threatened, we fight for our values and needs to be heard? We fight in a way of either speaking up, even shouting, not one that I recommend, but one that I keep on failing. Failing from speaking from assertiveness, or at least sometimes. Or you can go to the other end of the spectrum and you just sulk and you freeze and you do nothing. Then you live lives and days and years of misery when you add it all up. Simply because of an ability to see others, to accept others, that they think differently, they have a different life experience, and they have different values. Simply because you don't have the ability to be assertive when you need to. Simply because you haven't practiced to stay calm when you have to. But the ability to set up boundaries, to say, I matter. I matter. My needs matter. And speak them clearly with calm, confidence, respect. Respect yourself and respect to the other person. But equally, the same way that you ask for that respect, then offer the respect in turn. The same way that you're asking to be heard, then offer that time for the other person to fully express themselves. The same way that you are being honest, be accepting of the honesty of others. Don't be dismissive, because if you are dismissive, they will dismiss you. And surely there must be a better way. A way where I can be me and you can be you. And if you are destroying yourselves, ourselves, then what is there to left? What is there left? When you rise above others and you put your needs first, at first you think you're being assertive. But after a while you'll recognize that's not assertiveness. That's you destroying yourself. That's you destroying others. That's you being misunderstood. That's you fueling more misunderstanding. That's you feeling guilty for your behaviors. That's you feeling a failure for not maintaining. Let's acknowledge that, and I acknowledge that I don't always get it perfect. I do my best to have my best self on the driving seat at all times, and I keep on failing. I keep on failing because I cannot sustain. I cannot sustain because I don't have the knowledge, because I don't have the energy, because I have bad habits. And even that sometimes I'm there and I am proud of myself, or at least I seek to be proud of myself, so that I can bring into balance and see myself less of a failure but a work in progress. And my hope for you is that you are a human being. Remind yourself of your healthy boundaries, set them up, respect others the same way you'd like to be respected, treat others the same way you'd like to be treated. And even though we have our differences in the way that we like to experience love and share love, spend a little time understanding others, understanding their needs, and spend a little time listening to your emotions and reflect. Why do I feel this way? Why am I feeling so negative? What message is behind my anger, my frustration, my sadness? Am I feeling guilty, shame, embarrassed, jealous, unloved? How can I learn to love myself and support myself? Can I make amendments? Can I apologize? What about that rate of learning and practicing? Just remember, it does take time. It takes time to learn. It does take time to put into practice. It does take time to cultivate a new habit. It does take time to move from the lower vibration to a neutral to a higher vibration. It does take time. And there are challenges in our lives where you feel less than good, perhaps professionally. Even this quarantine, spending a lot of time inside one space where you're cut off from the world. We are less tolerant with those around us in a home environment than we are with others. Whereas friends might say something to me that I might not agree, I simply let go. That's their way of thinking. But I see it with a different eyes if it is my partner. Whether others don't look after themselves in terms of health and food and hydration, I simply let go. I hope that they have better habits so they can feel better. But if it's my partner, I find it difficult to let go. Because I know if my partner is not well, I worry for him. If my son is not well, I worry for him. And as much as I can worry for a friend, is a different level of worry. Because I don't feel responsible for my friends. I don't feel responsible for a stranger, but I feel responsible for my partner. I feel responsible for my son. And I feel responsible for me. And I wish that we have more tolerance, more flexibility. And I wish that I have that more myself. And the more I strive, the more I work on it, the more I need. And may I be reminded, and may you be reminded in times of need, to take a moment. Take a moment to calm down. Take a moment to give yourself compassionate love. Take a moment to accept your weakness, accept your failures, making peace, simply accepting. I accept them now. I accept that I am not. I accept that I am not perfect. I accept that I have standards that I want to maintain, and I keep on failing. There are standards imposed by ourselves. There are standards imposed by us because we want to be a better person, because you want to have better skills, because you want to achieve certain things. And when we feel that we value and we matter when we achieve those, while they give us a drive and motivation, an incentive to learn, to change, to grow, and they are a good thing, is a knife with two sides. In one hand, they encourage. On the other hand, they kill you. Because each time that you fail, you see yourself as a misery, as a failure. And love and compassion should be there available for times of need, times when we feel we don't have no one, times where we are too embarrassed to share our story. Some people, they reach and share and talk and say everything. And I'm not saying that is a bad thing, but there are others that keep everything to themselves and they want to portray a certain persona to the world. We fear that our negativity, our failures, our weakness will drive people away. We feel that others will not love us if they discover that we have a dark side, that we have a side that is not as appealing as balance and doesn't come from a high vibration. It could be because you don't feel positive at all times. It could be because you don't feel caring and loving at all times. It could be because you don't feel as calm as you want to. It could be because you feel you don't have an intelligent manner. It could be a flaw of character. It could be a flaw of intelligence. It could be a flaw of skill. How to deal with others. How to be polite. It doesn't matter what skill we try to hide. We fear that if they've seen our bodies, if they've seen our brain, if they've seen our minds, they would stop loving us. And when we don't feel loved, we don't feel worth. And life doesn't feel worth living. And some, they strive to do more and achieve more so that they can feel validated. Validated through their approvals, validated through their likes, validated through their comments, validated through their being in awe for the person that we are and the things we have. Yet in deep inside we feel empty. And our self-worth should not be dependent on our physical achievements, on our mental achievements, on our intellectual achievements, on our character achievements. A tree doesn't have to fight with another tree. I know the branches might reach to the sun so it can grow. But trees are worth. They don't need to impose themselves in order to be worth. The same with plants and flowers and birds and animals. I exist so I matter and I'm worth. And you are worthy. You are worthy of life. You are worthy of being loved. You are worthy of being you with your traits, your positives and your negatives. And yet, when you see yourself as less than, remind yourself, you are alive. And while your heart is beating, you are worthy. You are worthy, and so is every single human being on face of this earth. And even when you're gone, you're still worthy. You're worthy of being remembered. You're worthy of being celebrated. And your impact is worthy of being passed on. You are worthy. Be peaceful and patient with yourself. And when you feel dark, just accept. And when you feel tired of yourself, of observing and noticing the darkness, have a rest. Have some compassion. Make sure you sleep enough and drink healthily. Water to keep you hydrated, nourishing foods, movement to keep your circulation going. And meditate, pray, focus on a mantra or something that stills the mind. Be grateful each and every day. And see if you can focus on the things that are good in this moment. I might have retired into bed, but at least in this moment, my feet are warm. If you sleep, you're giving yourself some rest. Let's make peace with the darkness. Let's have the courage to share our faults, not to be a victim, not so that others pity us, but so that we don't have to hide from the person, the full person that we are. Not so that we fear feeling rejected. And while some people might reject us, that's their choice, and they have the right to follow the path that they wish, that they need. It's important to stay true to our value. I like to smile, I like to laugh, I like to be respected, and sometimes and many times in my day I feel all emotions. Sometimes I feel sad, not often, but sometimes. Sometimes I feel frustrated, quite often, especially during the quarantine with a 12-year-old boy. And I'm learning how to be a mother to a 12-year-old boy. Sometimes I feel angry, and I don't like that part of me, because I want to feel a calm, balanced. I want to be the one that influences, and when I'm calm, I can influence. Sometimes I'm not calm, and sometimes I'm disconnected, and that does not feel good. But at the same time, I cannot maintain a balanced, perfect self in terms of traits at all times. It doesn't seem realistic, or at least I want to allow myself not to aim for that perfection. I want others to also have their own light and reach from within. I want others to feel that they have value. I want others to stand up for themselves and tell me, no, even my son, I tell him, when I don't speak in a way that is assertive, but is aggressive, I want you to stand up for yourself. I teach him that he has the right, he has more power than he thinks. Even though I might try to get something that is worthy of him, if I'm doing it the wrong way, I want him to stand up for himself. Because I also want to learn how to evoke something that is good for others from a balanced, positive manner. And I tell my husband, do set up boundaries and stick with them, even for me. Because I want to learn to be a better person. I want to learn to be respectful. I want to learn that others' needs are also important. And when we and when we remind ourselves that we can grow, we can learn, we have worth, and so does others. Others matter to us. Those close to us matter to us. It is in our best interests that they grow, that we support them, and we feel supported and grow, and that they help us grow. Others that are a little bit more distant from you, just wish them well. May you follow the path of least resistance. May you find peace, may you find love, and find self-worth in yourself. May I find self-worth in myself, and I don't always feel worth it. If I try to educate my son on a certain behavior and he's not going anywhere, and I go into putting my foot down and he's still not going there, I feel like a failure. But I don't want to feel like a failure. It didn't work, and perhaps I could have been a bit more flexible, or perhaps I could have connected myself first and then engaged in the conversation. Perhaps I could have practiced being a little bit more patient. And it is so challenging being a parent at times. There are many good things, but so extremely challenging at other times. But you can only hope to have the strength to carry on being patient, to have the strength and recognition when you are losing, and have the courage to remove yourself in the moment. Have the knowledge of when you need to remove yourself, when you have extended your emotional and physical capacity to withstand the challenge. And have the courage to stand up for yourself when others impose rules that violate your needs, your respect. Have the courage to speak up at work in a respectful manner, but have the courage. It's very difficult to have the courage to speak up at work. It's very difficult to have the courage to speak up with people perhaps that are on your vicinity, and you know you'll have to live with them or see them, and they will be in your space in some way, shape or form. But have the courage not to destroy them, but to assert yourself with respect, kindness to yourself and others. We come from a place of lack and suffering, and so does everybody else. Let's recognize we all have positives. What are the positives in this situation? What are the goodness in this person, in this moment? What are the opportunities? What can I learn? What can I let go? It's very hard and very difficult to know, but your self-worth certainly cannot be on the standards that society puts on. It cannot be on the achievements that you get. It cannot be on the things that you have. It cannot be on your physical appearance, because when that fails, you also fail. And when you fail, you don't have access to your best self. And when you don't have access to your best self, you don't do your best, and you don't get the best out of others. So your self-worth cannot be on those. May I have the courage to accept that at times I am different, and in many regards I am different. I'm different in my way of viewing the world, of doing things, and that's okay. And may I have the flexibility and acceptance to see others, to hear others, and may I get the best and choose the best that is balanced, balanced for my health, for my mind. That is a win for me and others. And one cannot be a win, may I not put someone else's down. Self-worth and self-respect come from within. Love comes from within. If a friend stops talking with you and you feel sad and unworthy and unloved, doesn't mean that you're not worthy of love. Doesn't mean that you don't take what it takes to be a good friend, a good lover, a good spouse. You cannot put your self-worth on the eyes and hands of others. You need to recognize your own self-worth. I'm still discovering what my self-worth is, and I'm trying to put it as, if you are alive, if you lived and you are living, you have self-worth, and so does every single human being, either being a person or an animal. You are worthy. And may you repeat to yourself every day, the same way that it's good practice to tell yourself in the mirror, I love myself. Tell yourself, I have self-worth. And I'm looking forward to discovering my value. I'm looking forward to celebrating my strength. And I'm going to make peace with my weakness and my negatives. I have self-worth. I have self-esteem. I matter. And I'm going to respect you and wish the same for you. You are worth. You are worthy of living. You are worthy of feeling good. You are worthy of having your needs respected. You are worthy of feeling loved. You can connect yourself to the life energy inside of you to love yourself. You can ask others to support you. You can while you cannot expect them to behave in a certain way, you have the right to ask. And equally, you can accept yourself, even at times when you feel that you're failing. And a failure is an opportunity to learn. A failure is an opportunity to turn in a different direction. A failure is an opportunity to make peace. Failure is an opportunity to perhaps cry and let go. A failure is an opportunity to find the strength and the value in yourself. A failure is an opportunity to create new worlds, new horizons, new ways, new definitions. A failure is an opportunity to try again. A failure is an opportunity to focus on different values, values that matter, to recognize what matters most, proving someone else is wrong or my own health. A failure is an opportunity to start from the zero and build yourself up with the right values, with the right strength. A failure is a gate and a door that leads into a different path, a different direction. And when you give some distance, and when you give it some time, and when you go through your process of grieving, going through the emotions of anger, frustration, sadness, worry, anxiety, and making peace, then you can move into a different direction, a direction of believing and trusting and knowing that I did it. And you'll feel a little worth and confident and proud. May you see the value in yourself today and always. May you see the value in others today and always. And may you seek to find a win-win solution. And when you cannot see the win-win, may you just wish. May I wish you best wishes. I stand up for myself. I know my core values: respect, love, acceptance, growth, opportunity. Opportunity for me and you, accepting that we are different, we speak differently, we behave differently, and have different needs. And I wish you well. In times of darkness, make peace with it. Because in time, a little spark will get ignited. And when that spark gets ignited, you'll get light. And with light, you'll have more strength and an ability to get up, to move, to find your strength, to find the solutions that you need, to believe in yourself, to believe in your self-worth. You are worthy. You are worthy. You are worthy. And just because you failed once or twice or 3 times does not mean that you're not worthy. Just simply that you haven't found the solution. And the solution is out there. May you have compassion in your heart for yourself and others. May you not feel scared of your worries. May you not feel scared of your sadness and anxiety and negative emotions and low mood. Don't be scared of it. Emotions are there to show you messages, a message for you to understand yourself, a message for you to understand that of your needs, a message for you to try differently. And it's so difficult to know what you're doing wrong, but worry not that in time one voice will speak louder than the other. Let that voice be, I want to have peace. I want to have balance. I want to feel good. I want to have confidence. I want to believe in myself. I want to have self-worth. And then may you work in that direction. And the answers will come to you. You are worthy because you exist. You're very worthy. Love from my heart to yours so you can feel supported. Another big comforting hug. And a bye for now. Bye bye.